Listen carefully, because what I am about to tell you might completely change the way you see yourself. For a long time, you have been believing something that is not true. You have been calling yourself lazy. You have been thinking that you lack discipline. You have been feeling like you cannot focus, cannot stay consistent, and cannot achieve what others are achieving. But what if I told you, the problem is not you? What if the real issue is something hidden in your daily environment, something you never noticed? The truth is simple. You are not lazy. You are mentally overloaded. And until you understand this, you will keep fighting yourself instead of fixing the real problem. Every single day, from the moment you wake up, your brain starts consuming information. The first thing you do is check your phone. Notifications, messages, videos, social media posts. Everything enters your mind instantly. You think this is normal. You think everyone lives like this. But your brain does not see it as normal. It sees it as constant stimulation. Every piece of content is a signal, a reaction, something your brain must process. Now imagine doing this all day without pause. No silence, no rest, no mental recovery. Your brain becomes overloaded. Not physically, but mentally. And when a system becomes overloaded, it slows down. It stops responding properly. This is exactly what is happening to you. You sit down to focus, and your mind refuses. You try to work, and everything feels heavy. You try to study, and your attention keeps breaking. And then you blame yourself. You say, I am lazy. But that is not the truth. Because laziness means you don't want to act. But in your case, you do want to act. You just cannot maintain focus long enough to act properly. That is overload, not laziness. Your brain has been trained to expect constant stimulation. Fast videos, quick entertainment, instant dopamine, constant switching. So now anything slow feels uncomfortable. Anything deep feels boring. Anything meaningful feels difficult. And that is where the real problem starts. Real life is not fast. Real success is not instant. Real growth is not shallow. But your brain has adapted to speed. So when reality is slow, resistance appears. And that resistance is what you call laziness. But it is not laziness. It is conditioning. Now let's go deeper into what is actually happening inside your mind. Your attention is the most powerful thing you have. But right now, it is not under your control. From the moment you wake up, your attention is being pulled in different directions. Notifications demand it. Social media grabs it. Videos steal it. Messages interrupt it. And without even realizing it, your mind never stays in one place for long. You don't get time to think deeply anymore. You don't get time to reflect. You don't get time to stay with one idea long enough for it to develop. Everything becomes fast, shallow, and temporary. And this is dangerous. Because when your attention is scattered, your life becomes scattered too. You cannot focus on one goal. You cannot stay consistent. You cannot build momentum. Not because you are incapable, but because your attention is fragmented. Think of your mind like a glass of water. When it is still, it becomes clear. You can see through it. Everything is stable. But when you keep shaking it again and again, it becomes blurry. Nothing is visible clearly. Right now, your mind is constantly being shaken. No stillness. No clarity. No stability. And when there is no stability inside, everything outside feels overwhelming. Even simple tasks feel heavy. Even small decisions feel difficult. Even normal routines feel exhausting. So what do? You escape. You go back to your phone. Because it gives instant relief. Instant distraction. Instant comfort. But that comfort is dangerous. Because every time you escape, you train your brain to avoid effort. And the more you avoid effort, the weaker your discipline becomes. Slowly, your tolerance for discomfort decreases. This is why real work feels difficult now. Not because it is actually difficult, but because your brain is no longer trained for patience. You have trained it for instant results. Scroll reward. Click reward. Watch reward. Everything is fast. But real life does not work like that. Real progress is slow. Real success takes time. Real growth requires patience. And your brain is resisting that reality. That resistance is what you experience as laziness. But it is not laziness. It is withdrawal from stimulation. Your brain is addicted to dopamine spikes. And when those spikes are not available, it feels uncomfortable. So instead of sitting with discomfort, you escape into distraction again. And the cycle repeats. Distraction, overload, fatigue, avoidance, more distraction. And this cycle slowly becomes your lifestyle. But the most dangerous part is not the behavior. It is the belief you build about yourself. You start thinking, I am lazy. I cannot focus. I have no discipline. And once you believe that, your identity starts shaping around it. But identity is not truth. It is interpretation. And your interpretation is wrong. Because you are not lazy. You are overstimulated. Your brain is not weak. It is overwhelmed. And overwhelm is reversible. But only if you stop feeding it constant noise. Because the real problem is not lack of ability. The real problem is excess input. Too much content. Too much stimulation. Too much distraction. And very little silence. Very little space. Very little clarity. And without clarity, you cannot move forward. So the first step is not motivation. It is reduction. Reduce input. Reduce noise. Reduce stimulation. Let your brain breathe again. Now that you understand the problem, let's talk about the solution. Because understanding alone is not enough. Awareness is the first step, but action is what creates change. If your mind is overloaded, the solution is not to add more motivation. It is not to watch more videos. It is not to search for inspiration. The solution is simple, but uncomfortable. You need to reduce stimulation. You need to bring silence back into your life. Start with something very basic. 1 hour every day without your phone. No scrolling. No videos. No music. No distractions. Just silence. At first, this will feel strange. Even uncomfortable. You will feel restless. You will feel like doing something. Anything. Just to escape the silence. That is normal. Because your brain has been trained to constantly consume. It is addicted to stimulation. So when stimulation is removed, it reacts. But if you stay in that discomfort without escaping, something powerful starts to happen. Your mind begins to slow down. Thoughts become clearer. Mental pressure reduces. You start becoming aware of your thinking instead of reacting to it. And this is where real change begins. Because right now, you are not thinking clearly. You are reacting constantly. Every notification triggers a reaction. Every distraction pulls your attention. Every impulse controls your behavior. But silence breaks that pattern. Silence gives you space between thought and reaction. And that space is where control exists. Now let's go deeper. Stoic philosophy teaches a simple truth. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond. Right now, your responses are automatic. Something appears, you react. Something distracts you, you follow. Something feels uncomfortable, you escape. There is no gap between stimulus and action. But Stoicism is about creating that gap. That pause. That moment of awareness. Because in that moment, you regain control. You are no longer reacting unconsciously. You are choosing consciously. And choice is power. Most people never reach this point because they never slow down enough to observe themselves. They are always moving. Always consuming. Always distracted. So they never see what is controlling them. But when you introduce silence into your life, you start seeing patterns. You notice when your mind wants escape. You notice when your attention breaks. You notice when your impulses take over. And once you can see it, you can control it. That is transformation. Now let's talk about another important step. Expression. Your mind is not designed to hold everything inside. When thoughts stay inside without expression, they create pressure. That pressure feels like confusion, stress, and mental fatigue. But when you express your thoughts, through writing, something changes. Your mind becomes lighter. Because now the information is no longer trapped inside your head. It is outside. Organized. Visible. And when thoughts are visible, they become easier to understand. So start writing. Not perfectly. Not formally. Just honestly. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What is occupying your mind right now? This simple habit creates mental clarity. And clarity is the foundation of discipline. Because when your mind is clear, you don't need force to act. Action becomes natural. Now slowly, you will start noticing changes. You can sit longer without distraction. You can focus deeper on tasks. You feel less mentally heavy. And your energy starts returning. Not suddenly, but gradually. Because healing the mind is not instant. It is a process. And consistency is what makes it real. Now everything starts to come together. Because once your mind becomes a little clearer, something important happens. You stop identifying as lazy. You stop believing that something is wrong with you. And you start seeing the truth. You were never lazy. You were just distracted. You were never incapable. You were just overloaded. And that shift in thinking changes everything. Because as long as you believe I am lazy, you will keep treating yourself like a broken person. You will keep forcing yourself. You will keep feeling guilty. And you will keep failing the same way again and again. But when you understand the truth, your approach changes. Instead of fighting yourself, you start fixing the environment inside your mind. Instead of forcing motivation, you create clarity. Instead of chasing energy, you remove noise. And slowly, your life starts to shift. You begin to notice something very powerful. Focus becomes easier. Not perfect, but easier. Tasks don't feel as heavy as before. Your mind doesn't jump as much. You can sit with one thought longer than you used to. And these small improvements start stacking. Because discipline is not a single action. It is a pattern. A pattern built through repetition, awareness, and control. But remember this clearly. The world will not stop distracting you. Your phone will still exist. Social media will still exist. Notifications will still exist. Distractions will always be available. So the goal is not to eliminate distractions from the world. The goal is to build control inside yourself. Because external chaos will always be there. But internal control is what defines your life. Now let's understand something deeply important. Your attention is your life. Not metaphorically, literally. Where your attention goes, your time goes. Where your time goes, your energy goes. Where your energy goes, your identity is formed. So if your attention is scattered, your life becomes scattered. But if your attention is controlled, your life becomes structured. This is why Stoic thinkers valued focus so deeply. Because they understood something most people ignore. A distracted mind cannot build a meaningful life. It can only react. It can only consume. It can only repeat patterns. But a focused mind creates. It builds. It grows. Now ask yourself honestly, how much of your day is controlled by intention? And how much is controlled by impulse? If most of your actions are impulsive, then your life is being controlled by external triggers. But if your actions are intentional, then you are in control. And control is freedom. So the real goal is not perfection. The real goal is awareness. Because awareness gives you choice. And choice gives you direction. Now as you move forward, remember this. You are not trying to become a different person. You are removing the noise that is blocking your real self. Under all the distraction, under all the confusion, under all the overload, there is clarity. There is focus. There is discipline. But it is hidden right now. Not gone. Just buried. And every time you reduce noise, you uncover it again. So stop being harsh on yourself. Stop labeling yourself as lazy. Stop assuming you are weak. You are not. You are simply overwhelmed in a world that never stops talking. And now you have a choice. You can continue living in constant distraction, reacting to everything, losing time every day. Or you can take control of your attention. Slowly. Step by step. By reducing noise. By creating silence. By observing your mind instead of escaping it. And if you do that consistently, something powerful will happen. Your mind will become clear. Your focus will return. Your discipline will strengthen. And your life will start moving in a direction that feels intentional instead of chaotic. Because once your mind becomes clear, everything else becomes possible. So remember this final truth. You were never lazy. You were just lost in noise. And now that you see it, you can finally change.